At the center of all love I stand, and from that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and throughout the world. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and
Good evening, everyone, and this is Michael. I'm finishing off this series of Ask presentations because during the month of December, today being the first day of Advent, looking forward to the solstice and to Christmas, there will be other kinds of broadcasts. The Sagittarius full moon is coming up, and also the Saint Cecilia Day broadcast on the 13th, and very shortly after that we'll be beginning the once every 7-year festival week of the new group of world servers, and we'll have quite a few webinars at that time, and hopefully opportunity for you to think and speak with others. Occasional broadcasts, which put us in the listening mode rather than the speaking mode. But we're going to be in quite a position, I think, to go deeply into the matter of what is the new group of world servers, how to strengthen their hands, how to recognize the servers and how to join them. As you know, it's no easy thing to really commit one's life to service. There are all ranges of participation in the new group of world servers. It has some very high initiates of the 4th and 3rd degree within it, and generally a kind of requirement that one be at the 2nd degree, but then there are members who are applicants to this kind of subjective work, which is not formally organized. We have a little more to read here. Let's see. Under capital and labor. And in the book, The Problems of Humanity, we've been talking a little bit about the relationship between these two, one of them coming more from the moon chain, that is capital, and the other more from the earth chain, labor, having, less experience and in general a different emphasis that is not quite so mental, but it makes up for it in other ways, emotional, intuitive. Can the conflict, here we are on page 81, can the conflict between capital and labor be ended and a new world be thereby reborn? Can living conditions be so potently changed that right human relations can be permanently established? See, this is the big question, isn't it? It's not so much a business question, it's a question of the relationship of the humanity of the moon chain with the younger humanity of the earth chain, and how we approach each other, whether with the Libran golden rule, combining the 2nd ray with the 3rd, or whether through greed and acquisition and manipulation and looking out for our own selfish interests. And we know there is so much of that going on right now, unfortunately. So we'll begin here that these relationships can be established, and these for the following reasons. Humanity has suffered so terribly during the past 200 years. That's going to take us back. Let's suppose this was written largely in the 1940s, so it'll take us back into the 1740s, 1750s, and so forth. Humanity has suffered so terribly during the past 200 years that it is possible to bring about the needed changes, provided that the correct steps are taken before the pain and agony are forgotten and their effects have passed out of man's consciousness. That's such a danger now. We see in the lives of so many young people that the terrible and decisive suffering of the Second World War is not part of their consciousness, certainly not in the same way that it was for those who passed through that war or who were born close to it. These steps must be taken at once, while patent evidences of the past are still present. Humanity is forgetful, and even the most obvious things are treated as if they didn't really exist. And the aftermath of the World War is before our eyes, a tremendous motivator, right? So the better relations between capital and labor, the moneyed classes and those who work for them, can be undertaken because of the suffering. It seems that humanity, being largely a fourth-rate kingdom, learns through suffering. And then number 2, the release of the energy of the atom. Well, so this has to have been written after 45, I think it was August 6th, 45, and another release very close to that, horrific in one way. Certainly if you had to live through it, or not live through it, but in another way, breaking the grip of the materialistic thought form upon humanity's consciousness. So, number 2, another reason why better relations between capital and labor can be established is that the release of the energy of the atom is definitely the inauguration of the new age. It's a very non-sentimental Aquarian event. Atomic energy and Aquarius are very closely allied. It will so completely alter our way of life that much of the planning at present being done will be found to be of an interim nature. It will simply help humanity to make a great transition out of the materialistic system now dominating into one in which right human relations will be the characteristic. And that's the thing, we can't really have materialism and right human relations simultaneously. This new and better way of life will be developed for 2 main reasons. A, the purely spiritual reasons of human brotherhood, of which the Aquarian age will be eventually an excellent example. The purely spiritual reasons of human brotherhood, of peaceful cooperative enterprise, and the constantly unfolding principle of the Christ consciousness in the hearts of men. That, of course, would signal the taking of the first initiation. This may be deemed a mystical and visionary reason. It is already more controlling in its effects than is believed. Well, the masters from the inner side definitely see far more than we can. And therein, when they say something like this, lies some hope. And point B, about why the new and better way of life will be developed, the frankly selfish motive of self-preservation. The release of atomic energy has not only put into human hands a potent force which will inevitably bring in a new and better way of life, but also a terrible weapon capable of wiping the human family off the face of the earth. And against this, DK frequently warns, and sometimes those warnings have been dire. Foster Bailey apparently had some contact with the Tibetan after Alice Bailey died, and he published a book. Was it Changing Esoteric Values or Running God's Plan? One of those books, in which he said the Tibetan had assured him that there would not be an atomic war. But that doesn't exactly sound like the Tibetan's writings earlier. So we still have to be very careful. So the right relations between capital and labor, point 3. the steady and selfless work of the men and women of goodwill in every land. This work is non-spectacular, but surely founded on right principles, and is one of the main agencies for peace. Goodwill and peace, two of the prime prerequisites for the reappearance of the Christ, along with that house cleaning in politics and the church, which we now see taking place. On account of this energy discovery, capital and labor are each faced with a problem, and both these problems will reach a point of crisis in the next few years. So this is being written in the 40s. Somehow the window of opportunity for writing it from August 1945 until approaching December of 1949, when Alice Bailey made her transition. Well, there's much here to discuss about how atomic energy should be handled. And now, of course, it's gotten so extremely developed, even beyond the first releases, that people quip that the first atomic bomb, horrific though it was, is more like a firecracker compared to what we've got now. And, you know, probably this is one of the reasons why maybe the main reason why the fifth ray ashram per se was, or saw its work suspended for about 50 years, from 1950 to the year 2000, lest the discoveries of the destructive secrets of nature go too far for humanity to handle. So I'll just put this here, and this is the end of our reading for today. If I could just spell. And begin in January 2020. What the exact date may be, we'll have to see, but we'll have a lot of other considerations on our mind during the next 30 days or so, ending with a 24-hour, apparently 24-hour vigil at the time of the change of year. And it's just getting the people to be able to sustain that kind of schedule. But after that, we'll return more to our normal schedule. So we have to admit that the Tibetan has given us a great understanding on many points, both extremely abstruse and at the same time practical. And we have to, in these waning days of the era of the forerunner, learn what it means to really be a practical esotericist on the inner planes. It will help tremendously if we can spread the goodwill, the love, the light, expand the triangles, and assimilate the teaching and spread spread widely the teaching. Now, entering our little meditation, we enter alignment with the soul, with the angel of the presence, and thus we perceive in a different manner, a more conscious and soul-centered manner. And with the mind held steady in the light of the soul, so we can think somewhat as the soul thinks, we review certain premises. The occult law, for instance, that to those who give shall be given, so that they can give again. One has to have trust in occult law. It does function, and sometimes in surprising ways. We will not be successful lawbreakers. Now, after we achieve a positive and intended personality quietness, we formulate clearly to ourselves and in our own words the answers to these questions, which we review every week. And the first question is that if money is one of the most important things needed today for spiritual work, what is the factor which is at present dedicating or deflecting it away from the work of the hierarchy and dedicating it to material ends? What is the cause of this deflection? Number two, what is my personal attitude towards money? Am I regarding it as a great and possible spiritual asset, or do I think of it in material terms? Number 3, what is my personal responsibility in regard to money which passes through my hands? Am I handling it as a disciple of the Masters should handle it? The whole story is a very old one, and when Hercules, millions of years ago, was teaching the humanity of that time through his dramas, he invented the character of the Hydra, the symbol for the selfish nature of man. And he presented a story connected with each of these Hydra heads, or with each of the signs of the zodiac that connected with one of the heads of the Hydra. It was his task as a disciple, as the bright son of Hera, to kill the monster that lurks within each one of us, often unknown at first. So the wrong use of money and material resources is one of the great glamours that humanity suffers under, especially if it cannot make the transition from the more materialistic third ray into the ray of love and wisdom, the second ray. We're still in process of making that transition. And maybe if we study ourselves really honestly, we can see whether this so-called second head of the Hydra has any power over us as individuals and as groups. So we need a plan to overcome this tendency towards the wrong use of money, which simply fulfills material, personal desire and does not help the larger picture much. It doesn't, oftentimes works against the elevation of humanity. It's all a question of our sense of values, which is part of subduing the astral body, especially at the second initiation. The Martian desirous astral body moves by using Venus, Jupiter, Neptune towards a stronger, more lighted sense of values under the light of Vulcan. So let us always ponder how we can use money correctly on behalf of the divine plan, which will save humanity and the planet, and not in defiance and obstruction of that divine plan. Ponder then on the redemption of humanity through the right use of money. And we visualize money in the world today as it is used largely for purely material purposes and for the satisfaction where the individual is concerned of purely personal desires, and this has been elevated to fulfilling the desires of selfish groups as well, about which DK warned us. But money can be used in a different way, with the love energy at the center of its use, its main motivation. The second and third aspect of divinity can be put together, and must be. And we can visualize the money as a great stream of flowing golden substance passing out of the control of the forces of materialism and into the control of the forces of light. So out of the dark, this golden substance flows and into the hands of the Christ and his masters and their initiates and so forth. And in that way, the money will not be, as it were, cornered and retained by only the few. We see the statistics now. Maybe 1% of the population has as much money at their disposal as the remainder of human beings. It's not the correct situation, and it means that the money-making skill of the very intelligent few has been largely assigned to selfish purposes rather than for the uplift of humanity. So let us say the following prayer, invocative prayer, with focused mental concentration and from a heartfelt desire to meet spiritual demands. O Thou in whom we live and move and have our being, the power that can make all things new, turn to spiritual purposes the money in the world. Touch the hearts of men everywhere so that they may give to the work of the hierarchy that which has hitherto been given to material satisfaction. The new group of world servers needs money in large quantities. I ask that the needed vast sums may be made available. May this potent energy of Thine be in the hands of the forces of light. It's a prayer sort of directed immediately to the planetary logos. And then we say with conviction and with emphasis, as we see the untold and unlimited sums of money flowing into the hands of the forces of light, so that the creative accomplishment of the plan may be manifest, we say with conviction, He for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in His name and with faith in the response, will see it accomplished. And we can expect that in this Aquarian age there will be a great redistribution of the energy and financial resources. It's energy that needs to be rightly apportioned. We do have to remember that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So a world in transformation is what we are witnessing, and it is that to which we are contributing. And so we make our invocation. I ask the needed money for, and then we name what we are asking for, the project, the purpose. And we say the third stanza of the great invocation. As we realize we can ask and demand this money for the purposes of the plan, because that is what is intended for humanity's role in the plan, embodied by its carrying out of the love, light, and purpose of deity. From the center where the will, or where we, from the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. And this will certainly be the case when the flowing golden substance is directed towards making possible the manifestation of that which is intended by the divine plan. The Christ is on his way, and wherever two or more are gathered in his name, there he will be. And we need to support in the best possible way his arrival again into objectivity, into visibility, in short, his reappearance. It's an amazing thing. He was so tremendously influential during his 3-year appearance in ancient Palestine, and now he'll be with us for some 2,000 years. And we intend to help. And in that measure, we say together, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya, be with us. And with a careful consideration of our own responsibility to the plan, we plan the forthcoming week to direct this creative energy towards the fulfillment of the plan, and we are to be practical and realistic, DK tells us, and to know that if we do not give, we may not ask, for none of us has the right to evoke that which he or she does not share. So we think about how we can help during the coming week. And we know that whether the sum we can offer is large or small, it can prove a practical, lighted, effective unit in the Master's work. we attempt to feel true love sweeping through us, and we have the fixed intention to express this love to all whom we may contact. This love is the great, attractive, and selfless agent in world affairs. We make our plans. We try to stick to them. And we give rhythmically to the Christ and his forces, those who represent him and his hierarchy, that which we have been able to save, that which we have been able to redirect from the normal material stream. So we continue our work along this line, and we sound the Om 3 times for the 3 areas of life which will be affected by the wise use of financial resources. Friends, your tangible support and your subjective support are deeply appreciated for the work that we try to do through the University of the Seven Rays, the Seven Ray Institute, and the Moria Federation, and also our associated brother and sister organizations. For about a month, we will temporarily suspend the Ask programs. We'll be delivering other programs. So this is the last Ask program per se, but coming right up, we do have the pre-full moon for Sagittarius and the full moon, and we have the Saint Cecilia Day service broadcast, and we have many webinars coming up as we celebrate together the 1 week of the festival week of the new group of world servers. Every 7 years. It's very important that we work subjectively together, and we will. And we'll learn, and we'll strengthen the hands of the new group of world servers, and hopefully we will be effective. All over the world this is taking place in different groups and organizations, and we're all part of it. And then we'll have our we're going to have some Christmas broadcasts, of course. We'll notify you. And we will have our New Year's vigil. And then we'll get back into our schedule. on the Makara website. There are a lot of new postings that have gone up, and we're working things out so that at least some of those can appear on the YouTube. And we want to simply thank you for your attendance, the whole team, Joe and BL and Michael and Tuya and Livy and myself and others also. We want to do our best to continue bringing to you these broadcasts and these webinars. So I'll just say goodbye for now, because another webinar awaits us almost immediately, and we'll be in touch with you and notify you of our next work. Meanwhile, there's plenty on Makara that you may not have caught. The reading of the Glamour book and the commentary on it, and our work on the science of triangles, which is more the esoteric side of it all. There's plenty to listen to and plenty with which to educate yourself. So lots of love to you and many blessings, and we'll be in touch with you.